in Athens, and we're happy to be joined by our good friend Noah
I
Grayson.
just remembered something. We were supposed to wear turtlenecks this week.
Oh, that's right. I don't even have it. I don't have a
You
turtleneck.
you made a deal.
Oh.
Yeah, you made a deal with us. We were supposed to wear turtlenecks.
That's right.
Oh, we messed it up. Next week.
Next week.
I
Yeah,
thought
either
it
that or
was
the
like-
A&M week.
I thought it was like a Terps thing that you were wearing the turtleneck. I was like, oh, that's sweet. They were going to do that, but I forgot that you guys were making fun of my mock turtleneck last time I was on. And that was
Was
rude.
that Simone that started
Yeah,
that?
that's similar.
Yeah, but you guys jumped in quick. I'm not letting you guys off the hook.
I didn't. I thought it was a good look.
Hey,
mock
I was
turtleneck,
behind the
I think it's a
camera.
good look. I think it's a good look. We'll run the tape back. I thought it was a good look.
Yeah,
It's
run the
full,
tape back.
It's the full turtleneck that I was like, but you didn't have that on. I thought it was. I don't know. I thought it was a good look. I'll run that tape back. We'll find out.
Short sleeves. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Gerhard.
Absolutely, man. Obviously, Texas this upcoming week they got a really big game there against Georgia. Coach Sarkisian always says the right things when it comes to these marquee games. However, when you break down his career in some of these big games, especially against these Bulldogs, the numbers on the paper, the hard concrete numbers, don't look all that great. For this year's Texas team going on the road, and you've mentioned it, they've been a good road team under Sark. What are your overall expectations for this team as they look for a huge win and keeping their playoff hopes alive?
Let's kind of look at both sides of it here. I've talked to people that cover this Texas program that think Georgia might be in the Longhorns' head a little bit, which in today's college football world where there's so much turnover every year, and I feel like maybe not as many like guys that like live and die with their own program, it's kind of hard to have a program that's maybe in your head. But I mean, last year Texas, the way they played against Georgia and then everybody else was different. And I think on the other side of that, a positive thing for Texas is last year against Georgia, guys, this is the stat that's blown my mind. They played Georgia twice last year in the regular season in Austin. Game day was here, and it was rocking. I mean, everyone was in town. KD, one of my favorite artists, was in town as well. That like nobody. I don't know if you guys have heard of the rapper Corday.
Oh
like,
yeah. I know Corday.
Yeah. Okay, this is a very quick aside, but like Corday was here last year, and like they were showing all the celebrities on the camera in Austin. And they showed KD and everyone went crazy. I think like Quavo was here, McConaughey, and they showed Corday and like nobody cared. And I was upset. And you're like not supposed to cheer as a media member, but like I threw in some claps because I felt bad. And I actually went and talked to him. Very cool guy. So I was one of the few that actually appreciated Corday being there. But as I was saying, my actual point, the two times Georgia beat Texas last year, they had 13 sacks, Georgia did, against Texas in those two games. Pretty remarkable considering this year Georgia has 11 total. Yeah. So they had more last year in those two games than they did in this entire season so far. So the pass rush for Georgia is maybe not what it was a season ago. And that's huge for a Texas offensive line that has struggled this year. Last year, it was like no question about it. That was their strength, and Georgia still dominated them. This year, if the Texas offensive line this year was facing Georgia last year, it would have been extremely dicey. But I have some pretty strong confidence for Texas in this game because Arch Manning's been playing so much better, and the offensive line's been getting better, and they're not facing that same Georgia team from last season, Gerhard.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And you teed up my next question perfectly because I think that if there's one quarterback that can eat in this game, it is Arch for a couple of reasons. You mentioned the lack of the pass rush. They're dead last in the SEC in sacks overall, and the way that Arch is playing. Do you expect that narrative to continue this upcoming weekend where he's throwing for more than 300 yards, he's throwing for touchdowns, the ball is moving down the field, or do you think that Billy Napier and Kirby Smart over there in Athens can scheme something up to get Arch off his game?
Yeah, Billy Napier did have some success when he was coaching a different SEC team against Texas this year. But I'm pretty confident in Arch. Not only has he played better, but I think within that, the coaching staff has much more confidence in him. You can hear it in how they talk about him, but also the way they open up the playbook more. There was a couple of those like classic Sark plays last time Texas did it against Vanderbilt. They had like a triple reverse early on in the game where they were able to find Ryan Niblett after that. So I think now that he's gotten more comfortable in the offense and he looks like a totally different guy, the way they're running the offense is different as well. So if he has time to throw, he's been really good. And he's also been somebody that when there's pressure in his face, he might have struggled early in the season, but like he's thrown some of his best passes this year have been when he's like about to get rocked by a linebacker.
Right.
He had one of those against Florida where he stepped up as well. So I have confidence in the Texas offense. I don't want to say more than the defense because it's a team that's anchored by their defensive unit right now. But I think that unit can certainly put up some points against this Georgia team.
Noah, I feel like some fans might be like, okay, the last time Texas had an open week, they came out and they laid an egg against Florida and did not get out to a fast start. It felt like they were playing from behind. This Georgia team, what they like to do is they like to keep this game close until the fourth quarter, and that's when you start to see Georgia start to pull away. Is there any concern about the long layoff? And for Arch, I know he was coming off the concussion. Do you think that might help or hurt the hot streak that he's on right now?
Well, I don't think that would be a major part because the concussion was against Mississippi State, and then he came back for the Vanderbilt game where he played outstanding. I would say for the team, Patrick, they played awful against Florida. Like I talked to some former players were like that was the most disappointed I've been watching Texas in a long time. With that being said, it was kind of interesting listening to the team after that Florida game where they were like, yeah, now we know we have to take everybody seriously, which I'm like, you didn't know that before? Like, this isn't San Jose State, man. So, not that they, thought Florida was going to be a cakewalk or anything, but I think Georgia certainly has their attention. And it's easy to play the narrative game when you're, covering or watching college football. Like, oh, this team has momentum right now. Or like, it's going to be a letdown week here. Texas has kind of followed that script this season a lot of the time where, like, they're coming off a game where, like, the offense really struggled. But they won. It's like, oh, then the offense played outstanding the next game. Or like, oh, this is maybe a letdown game. It's going to be a letdown game. So Texas has really done that. There's been too many surprises this year other than that Florida one, which was a major letdown. So I think Georgia obviously has their attention. And Texas also is very healthy now. They're maybe the healthiest team in the SEC. They have the guys back in the defensive back room. So we did our score predictions for this game for our pregame show. I don't know how much overlap there is between these viewers and our pregame show viewers, but like I am picking Texas and a low-scoring game as well.
Okay.
That I think Texas will really handle much of it, and Georgia will make a run, as you guys were saying, that they kind of do that in the fourth quarter. But I think Texas is kind of all in on this final stretch here, where it's Georgia, and then maybe I don't want to call it like a mini bye week in Arkansas, but that's not the same level as Georgia and A&M on either side.
So Noah, let me pose this question then, since we're looking forward to the final stretch of the season. First, I'll start with this question: do you see a 3-loss Texas team making the college football playoff?
Well, I would just like to say, maybe like 4 or 5 weeks ago. I think it was maybe before or after the OU game, Texas played OU. I brought this up, and I'm like, the question is if Texas could lose another game and could they make the playoff with 3 losses? And I think it was Simone came after me and was talking about how crazy that would be, that no way Texas. Yeah. So
she's also making fun of that hard stretch.
Yeah. So I just want to say it's not crazy anymore, is it? Especially, I mean, this is kind of, I think if you look at the playoff, since it's expanded last year and then this year as well, we don't know exactly what it's going to look like this year, but I think it's not going to be the 12 best teams. It's going to be, maybe like 9 or 10 best teams and like the other 2 teams that like have to be in from the ACC or Group of 5. I don't think there's any doubt that Texas is one of the top 12 teams in the country. Probably we're going to think that after the end of the season, but them actually getting in, I would say if they have a close loss this week and then beat A&M and beat Arkansas, I would bet that they're going to get in. If they have one loss and it's not that close and they don't look that good, then it's a different story. Or, it matters so much in the sport when you lose.
Yes.
If they lose the last week of the regular season, that's going to be the last thing everyone sees about the team, assuming they don't make the SEC championship. So, not that they're like, let's go out here and lose this Saturday, but I think that would be like the better loss for Texas than losing at home to A&M.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I said the same thing. I think we were talking about it on Monday. I said that if they can go out there a close loss to Georgia and then a win over Texas A&M, I think it'll change a few of those members of the committee's minds a little bit about the perception of this team, especially if Texas A&M continues to win out. I'll ask you about the defense here in just a moment, but first we hear from Sark about the offensive line going into this Georgia game.
Yeah, no, I think that I think continued growth. I think individual growth and development is important for all those guys up front. Continuity growth, I think, is important. Of the communication and working together is an important factor of that. Confidence is an important factor in that. So all those things I think play into the continued growth and development leading into this game. Georgia has really good players. All right. So I know a lot of times we want to stare at stats, and that's like the most important thing, especially in y'all's world. We watch the tape. Okay. They got really good players, and those 3 linebackers can all rush, and they're all really good players. They have 9 sacks between them. But they got really big interior players who are very athletic. I think that Georgia does a fantastic job of what we would refer to as cage rushing, and they don't give quarterbacks a lot of opportunities to escape the pocket, and the pocket just kind of shrinks on the quarterback, and they make it difficult to make those throws. And so there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat to try to get to a quarterback. Georgia's way is a high level way of doing that. And they're very good at it. And I know we want to look at sack numbers, but their ability to affect the quarterback, I think they do it at an extremely high level.
So I want to touch on the Texas defense going into this one against Gunnar Stockton, branching the offense for Georgia. What are some of the key points for this team as they're, number one, getting healthy, but then also, number 2, playing at a really high level?
The last time Texas was on the field, they looked great in the first half against Vanderbilt, but that defense got shredded in the second half against Diego Pavia and company. And it wasn't just like, Pavia was making some Pavia plays. Like, they had some coverage breakdowns, and then Pavia did make some Pavia plays as well in this game where it was like a 4th and 26, and he's just like Manzelling it and, just like crazy ad-libbing. But at the same time, like, the way that defense played in that game in the second half was bad, and maybe the worst they've played. The previous week against Mississippi State was not great as well. So I think where that defense is a much bigger question mark than a lot of people have imagined in this one. And I think there's little doubt in this game, gentlemen, that it's going to be within 1 possession with like 6 minutes left. And it's just about closing. And the Texas defense has been pretty good at closing this year. At Vanderbilt, they couldn't get a late stop, but the game was still like 2 scores at that point and needed to be an onside kick. In Mississippi State, when it went to overtime and Texas scored first, the Longhorns defense was able to close. They did the same thing against Kentucky. They shut down Oklahoma before that in the second half. So when they really have needed a stop against Ohio State, they kept the team in that game the whole time. It's just the offense that couldn't do anything. So, yeah, Georgia might get things going early, but I would have decent confidence in this Texas defensive unit. Like we said, they got Michael Taft back, Jelani McDonald in the defensive back room, that when it matters most, they can kind of hunker down and get the job done.
Absolutely.